Welcome to Pass It On, Connecting Soul to Soul, a podcast introducing you to courageous souls. These people are taking their spark in life and passing it on, lighting their corner of the world. I'm your host, Tammy Stuhr, best-selling author, speaker, and CEO of Author My Day, a company inspiring courage. I interview people about how they exercise their courage muscle and use their story to inspire you to live with a courageous heart. Let's get started with today's guest. Welcome to the next episode of Passing It On, Connecting Soul to Soul. I am so excited for our guest today, Patti Calhoun, who, when I met her, all I could think about is beauty. Like, not only does she radiate beauty from her, I feel like everybody that comes in contact with her, their most beautiful self comes out. So I'm excited to introduce Patti Calhoun. Patti, say hi.
Hello, thank you for having me. I've never done a podcast, so this is my first, so I'm excited about it.
Another courageous move.
Extremely.
Well, thanks for being my guest. So I want to jump to a story first. You went to Yellowstone National Park. I love national parks too. What did you do at Yellowstone?
Well, actually, it was kind of a fluke. I went to Bozeman, Montana to go for a leadership retreat that I had earned through my business. And unbeknownst to me, somebody I didn't know sent me a message and asked me if I would be willing to go dog sledding in Yellowstone National Park in the middle of February. It was never a bucket list item, but I thought, I got to do this. It was the most exhilarating experience I have ever had, to be in complete solitude, learning how to handle the dogs, running my own sled with 8 dogs. It was a spiritual, emotional, physical thing that I hold to my heart so dearly because it was such an incredible experience. It was beyond anything I could have ever imagined.
So
Just
you had to have some fear in saying yes to that.
petrified. I've got a bad knee. I had surgeries. I'm thinking, do I fall off? Who's going to come and rescue me in the mountains? All these thoughts, right? And so I just, when I told my husband about it, he thought I was crazy. And then he said, we have lived our lives with this motto. It's better to take the risk and fail than never take the risk at all. So I decided to meet with this woman who I did not know and 2 other women. And the 4 of us just decided, let's do it, encourage each other, support each other. And to this day, we talk about it like it's just such a fabulous experience. And it bonded me to people that I would have never met without my business. Crazy.
That is awesome. So talking a little bit about your business, what do you do professionally?
Well, I'm actually a retired dental hygienist. And so I've been retired for about, I think, 17 years now. And we had moved to Florida, thought that was our final destination. And as it turned out, living in Florida and vacationing in Florida can be 2 different things. But while I was there, I was playing tennis, I was doing all the fun things, enjoying the warm weather, but I was missing something. And a business opportunity came my way. I didn't really know what it was going to be. I was going to try and support somebody who was a friend. And over the last few years, it's going to be 6 years next month, it has changed my life in so many ways. I am a Rodan and Fields consultant, and you think skincare, what does that have to do with anything? But when you surround yourself with people who are so supportive, encouraging, and empower you to be the best version of yourself, it's like, I didn't even know I needed that, but I did. And it came to my life at an opportune time, and I took advantage of it. And so here I am almost 6 years later in the top 2% of the company because I do everything with gusto.
Where does that gusto attitude come from?
Well, I will tell you, it's kind of interesting because I don't think I've always had that. Um, I grew up in a very different time. I grew up in kind of the ghetto of Milwaukee, to be honest with you, very impoverished family, but we had lots of love. But I grew up in with aunts and uncles who were kind of the generation and mindset that you were there to be seen and not to be heard. And that really, what that does to a young woman you don't realize how much it can transfer into your life moving forward, right? And so this business kind of made me come out of my shell and think, you know what? Who are they to tell me who I am supposed to be? So I try and live my life authentically every day, whether I'm volunteering, whether I'm playing with the dogs outside, whether I'm meeting a neighbor, whether I'm, helping people who are asking for skincare solutions. That's kind of where I find my joy, and I can be authentically who I am. And it hasn't been an easy journey, but it's a journey that I would not trade for the world, because I feel like I'm living the best version of myself today. And hopefully tomorrow will be even better.
How do you take that mindset, or what served your mindset to be able to overcome that generational story for you?
That's an interesting question, because as I think back to that young girl who was hearing that over and over again, it was like, when did the switch go off? And so I've always lived my life trying to be the firstborn child, do the best of the best what I can. And someday somebody was talking about going to college. This is how far back this goes. I'm the only one out of 39 grandchildren that has a college education.
Wow.
So I had decided at some point in high school that I was not going to become a legacy of what that looked like. I was stepping out of it. Made a lot of people uncomfortable, made me uncomfortable. And I don't know that I always knew how to handle it effectively. But I feel like now, as I look back, I think I am so proud of that girl, because there were a lot of hiccups along the way. But when you know better, you do better. And so I feel like my story has kind of evolved over time. But when you have the support of a spouse who kind of comes from that same background, but a different lifestyle, and he too encourages you, I couldn't, other than my father who told me I could do anything, right? He was the only man in my life that ever did that. And then I get married to this incredible human who was like, you want to do it? Go for it. I'm here to support you. I the the incredible encouragement just kind of skyrocketed me into wanting to do so much more. I don't know.
So something that's hit me really hard in this last year as I'm on my own journey of figuring out what I'm doing in life and where I'm going is you are the do they say that? You are the person of the five people you surround yourself most with, or the five people you spend the most time with. And so when you think about that and you talk about your husband being supportive, um, how is that playing into who you are today? And how
Absolutely.
is that playing into how you're helping other people in your field?
I will tell you that that is something that has evolved over these last probably 5 to 6 years. I have purged some negativity from my world. I've decided that enough was enough. I didn't want to be a part of that. I would love to have somebody, when I meet people, I want them to be able to walk away with a smile on their face and say, wow, that was kind of a nice conversation. Or wasn't that thoughtful of her? Things like that matter. Those little acts of kindness. Sometimes a simple smile in the hallway at the hospital for somebody who's scared when their loved one's having surgery. I have surrounded myself with some really incredible people. Hence, I'm leaving on Tuesday on an incredible journey that I never expected to happen, with people who are way above me in this company. And I thought, you know what? I want to rub elbows and surround myself with incredible women, see how they've done it. Maybe some of it through osmosis will resonate with me. And sometimes people don't even know what they say, what it is, that key thing that can spark something in another human. And so I'm going to rise to the occasion. I'm going for it.
So I have to laugh because this will come out after your trip, but tell us what you're going to ride and where will you be riding it?
Well, I am going to Morocco, and we will be riding camels into the desert. We will be in the Sahara Desert for 3 days, with no cell service, no anything, but it's a 3 hour camel ride. I used to ride horses, and you got to develop a little callus for those kinds of things, but I could take the easy way out and I take a caravan there. But why would you do that? Right? Why would you do that? I want to do something and experience everything I possibly can while I'm there. So I'm doing that. We're actually going to be cooking with the Moroccan people. And I'm the girl who grew up with the same 5 meals, just in different orders every week. So for me to be saying, I'm trying a new herb, I'm going to go to a cooking class in Morocco, is just so far-fetched to me, but I'm excited about it.
And I think that's where part of the inspiration that comes from why I see you as so courageous,
Mm.
because you do, like you said, you were a dental hygienist for 17 years. You're talking about kind of a rigid schedule and setting appointments. And now you've just kind of opened up, and like you said, the same 5 meals, just different days. You've just opened up this whole new world to yourself. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to experience everything?
We have one life to live. And I will tell you, any challenge, I was working with a life coach about 2 years ago. I didn't even know I needed a life coach, but I was gifted this opportunity. And he asked me about the challenges I faced in my life. And what resonates with me to this day is that those challenges, when I'm told I can't do something or I shouldn't do something, or people are telling me how I should live my life, that challenge gives me my most aliveness. It's not really a word, but it's like, that's when I feel most like I'm going to do this. And I hope that I instill in my children that it's okay to fail. How do we learn? We have to try things. We have to be not so afraid to say, okay, if this didn't work out, or our family's going to love us any less? Absolutely not. So, where is that fear coming from? Is it a reasonable fear, or is it really excitement? We don't know how to physiologically like change what fear and excitement are, because they're somewhat the same but different. So I feel like I just, more and more, the older I get, right? Tomorrow is never guaranteed. So I try and live each day. My father, his motto was live for today, because you never promise tomorrow. So live it with gusto. So I kind of live that mantra now. I want to live with gusto every day. I'm going to go outside when I'm done with this. And I think I'm probably going to scream from the rooftops because I did something I never thought I'd do until last week when I met you. And I do believe everything happens for a reason. There was a reason I met you at the hospital. It was so fascinating to talk with you. I wasn't really volunteering. I was just meeting new humans, and it was so cool.
But you are so magnetic. And there was just something about you that said, this is a genuine, authentic person. And you were looking for your word of the year, which I'm going to get to that in a minute. But first, I want to go back to the year that you chose grit as
Mm.
your word of the year.
Yeah,
Can you share more about choosing grit?
I chose that word because we were kind of in the starts of the pandemic. I was very confined to home because my husband works in healthcare, and we didn't know a lot back then, right? So I was very confined. And for somebody who loves to be around people, and I wasn't able to do that, I had to find something within myself to persevere, to get through that. I had to find the mental courage to figure out what I was going to do. So as a dental hygienist, I never had to set goals or do anything like that. I was told, you're doing a good job, you get a little raise, go continue seeing patients. In my business now, I can set goals, I can do things, but I never really knew how to have a plan. And so I decided to set a really big goal for myself to become one of the in the top 2% of my company. And I needed help doing that. So I needed grit to be disciplined enough to do this every day. Whether it was, you can't just quit, right? So you need grit and determination. And I thought, I started riding my bike, and I thought in 2020 I was going to ride 2,020 miles. Well, in 2021, how do you go just increase 1 mile? No, you got to go to 2,100 miles. I always was pushing myself because I always felt like I didn't have balance. I was starting to get balance in who I was as Patti, but physically maybe I wasn't taking care of myself the way I was. And so all of those things require a lot of grit and determination to stay focused to do it, because it's so easy to go, oh, I'm not going to do it. You know, I was not going to let anybody hold me back, not even myself. And when you are able to flip that switch in your mind, it's amazing the power it can give you as a human being. We have a tendency to beat ourselves up so much, and find all the poor things or bad things about us. I just decided with grit and determination, I was going to put one foot in front of the other, even if it was little baby steps. Even if I only rode the bike for 5 miles one day or only 1 mile, okay, the next day is going to be better. But I stayed committed to that. And I like the word grit. So I create like little, I don't know what that's called. So like grit. Greatness requires intentional transformation. And so
Ooh,
I use that
repeat
as my
that.
motto.
That is a golden nugget. Repeat that for us.
Okay, so grit, I use the G for greatness, R requires, I intentional, T transformation. And I have a friend who makes t-shirts. I actually had her make me a t-shirt that said that. So when I was on that bike and I was riding and I wanted to quit, I'd be looking in the mirror at myself going, grit, Patty, you got the grit shirt on, let's get going. And it really, simple things like that fuel me. And so each of those words in that word grit really resonated. Maybe not every word on every single day, but it might be one word was like, okay, I am required to do this if I'm going to hit my goal, right? I want to be great in this company. I have to work. I have to do the things even when they're uncomfortable. And I have to do them on a routine basis. I can't just quit. And I need to be intentional with the work I do. I don't want to just be busy. I want to be intentional. I want the work I do matters. And transformational. If you knew me 5 years ago, I'm not the same human I am today.
What do you want to spark in the world? What spark do you want to be?
I think the spark, I don't know that I'd use the words, I don't know if spark's the right word for me, but what I try to do is live, every time I meet somebody, I just want to bring joy to the world. Like I'm a joy person. I'm a giver. I love to give, whether it's to my team, whether it's to my family, because I just feel like those kinds of things make that's my love language, really. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I love seeing people smile, or if they're having a crummy day, to say, some of the patients at the hospital, just to put my hand on their shoulder and say, Dr. Smith is going to take very good care of you today. That simple gesture, and they look up at you. That's pure joy for me. And that's the kind of human I want to be remembered as. That, you know, I'm bringing that kind of energy to the world. We live in such a cynical society sometimes that you can get swallowed up in that. And I just have refused to let that kind of thing consume me anymore. I'm done with that. Like I said, I've purged that negative stuff from my world. And it just brings my heart so much joy when I can make another human smile, even if it's for a split second, you know?
And I thought about smiling, I think that is what you help people do. You help them wear an authentic smile. And you do it through what you do, inner work, like you said, posting, and outer work. So tell us more about your secrets on the inner and outer work of how you bring out and help others bring out their authentic smile.
I would say that I have the ability, and I don't know what you call it, but I have this thing where I can read people pretty well. And it drives my husband crazy sometimes because I can meet somebody and say, that person isn't an authentic human. And he'll say, Patty, but I just feel it in my being. So I find that I can read people, and I don't want to say I'm a chameleon, but I can kind of adjust to personalities if somebody's a little more calm, because sometimes I guess I can be a little more out there and a little more extra. But the other thing to that is I'm a cancer survivor. So as a cancer survivor, your whole mind shifts and every day is truly a gift, right? So when I meet people, I don't know their life story, but I'm the kind of person who I think I've become a much better listener. I want to hear their story. And if I can resonate with a little piece of something and then give back to them to hear a positive reflection on that, then I feel like I've sort of done my job.
Just realizing that you have this purpose in life, you have roles that you serve in life, and then understanding that it's not to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And as you train new consultants, um, that you have to teach them how to be an ambassador for themselves.
Exactly. And what's so unique about my business is there's no like age requirement. There's no educational requirement. It's like just trying to find that little ounce of, I want something a little bit more, whether it's financially, whether it's for a community, whether it's to help people feel better in their skin. I mean, it's so much. When I say something, what I do is more than skincare, that's what it's all about for me. It's the community. It's watching some of my consultants who say, can you help me make $64 a month so I can go to my Zumba class? And I help her exceed that goal. Win-win, win-win. That's where my joy comes from, helping others. So, I love that. I have another consultant who has two children with neurological diseases. One has MS and the other one has the worst case of Tourette syndrome that you can have. She came to me and said, Patty, skincare, and I see what you're doing, and you're able to do all of these things, and you talk about what this business has done for you. Can you help me make $500 a month because I need to pay Children's Hospital Colorado? My why becomes so insignificant at that moment. And my job then is to help her believe in herself that she can do it. And she far exceeds that every month now. I mean, it's incredible to watch her. She's an amazing human, and what it's done for her confidence instead of sitting in hospitals and waiting for her children having treatments. Now she works in the nooks and crannies, her business, and it all has baby steps come to the fruition of her being this amazing human today. And she's an author as well.
So when you or when people watch this podcast and we share it out, if you are one of the people that Patty was the wind beneath your wings, I want them to be posting in the comments those stories so you can read them, so you understand how much you are living out your purpose by serving others.
Well, I tell you, there's this quote by Maya Angelou, which I'm sure you've heard. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. That's my life motto right there. That's it. That's it.
What's your word for 2024?
It is rise. And it's kind of it's sort of a selfish word because I'm rising above some heartbreak from 2023. I want to rise in my business. I want to continue to rise to be a better version of Patti Calhoun. And I really want to rise to this next chapter of my life that's yet to be written. As I shared with you, I'm going to be moving. And I've moved a lot in my life. And some people can criticize that. But everywhere we go, we meet incredible people. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter. Who am I going to meet along the way on this next journey as our final chapter unfolds, So that's why I chose Rise. Just, it all kind of felt right to me. I listened to this song by Audra Day. And I don't know if she was one of our guest entertainment things at convention one year. And that song, I was trying to find my word. I think it was like day 8. And usually by day 2, I've got it figured out. And nothing was just resonating with me. And so I'm on my bike and I got my ear pods in and I'm listening. And that song came on. I got off the bike. It was like, that's it. So I called one of my dear friends. I said, Raya, I got my word. And she's like, whoa, easy, what? And she's like, how did it come to you? And I said, on my bike. So that's kind of just, it's sort of, if you open up your heart and mind, it's incredible what will come into you if you just pause. And in this crazy world of social media, television, all this stuff, we can just pause and open up your mind and your heart. It's amazing what can come to you. In the last 5 years, I'm getting better at learning how to do that.
How important to you to have a word of the year?
I feel like it helps me focus on everything I do, whether it's my family, my relationships, my work, rise. I want to rise up and be the best mom I can be as I have adult children, right? I want to rise up to being the best wife I can be for my husband. I want to rise up to the next level in my business. How am I going to do that? I have to have the courage to be able to open up and say, okay, teach me. I don't understand how to do this. And I might trip along the way, but I've never in this business felt like I've made mistakes because I've always been uplifted and encouraged to continue on. Always. And I didn't have that growing up, going to private schools. My parents had to struggle for me to get through those private schools. My dad wasn't an attorney or a dentist and all those things. And so it all kind of is a full circle thing for me. And I feel like this year, this word rise resonates more than probably any word I've chosen in the last 5 to 6 years. I can feel a shift happening. I just feel it in my bones. And so what that means, I'm not really sure as this next chapter unfolds.
So, how do you define courage?
Ooh, courage. Courage, I would say, is kind of like you courage. There's fear with courage. You have to get beyond the fear to do whatever it might be, right? So was today. It took a lot of courage for me to do this. I wasn't. It was like I was texting a friend, going, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be on this podcast," and I was so nervous. But I turned that into excitement. And what I tried to do is there's this mental thing my husband teaches. You have to convince your amygdala that you want to do something. So I want to do this podcast. I want to be good at it. I don't want to fumble over my words. I just want to be me. So last night I was doing that. And this morning I was like, I'm doing a podcast. So when I'm done here today, I plan on sharing with the world that I met this incredible woman on a fluke thing in a waiting room. And I did a podcast with her a week later. I mean, it's just mind boggling to me. Who would have ever thunk, you know? Patti Calhoun doing something like that? Never in my wildest dreams. But what I'm feeling inside is absolute joy. I've risen to the occasion to engage with somebody else. And I feel confident moving forward that now I can say I've done something I was afraid to do.
Right. So, why does courage matter?
I think courage matters because otherwise you can get stuck, you can wallow, you can become absorbed in not positive things. Um, and I use that from personal experience where I have people who have lived in the same town their entire lives. They have not had any life experiences and they can kind of become a little tainted or bitter and angry. And my husband and I were judged for leaving. We left the family when we took that opportunity to move to Northern Maine. Everybody thought we were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but we did it anyway. And we've instilled in our kids that it's okay. Life is one big adventure. Embrace it, explore it, and see where it takes you. I try and I just use the word that I don't like to use a lot. Try. I find that try can kind of be a cop out for people. Well, I'll give it a try. Doesn't work out, doesn't work out. Bill and I are doers. I'm going to do this. If it doesn't work out, what did I learn from that? Right? Try gives you an escape out. So I'm a doer. I will do the thing. If it doesn't work out, what can I learn from that? How can I improve? Or what, do I have to take this path or do I have to back up a little bit and then take this other path? But I do it. I don't try sometimes feels like an easy way out. So what do you have to do? You have to find the courage to do it, not just try it. And that's been a whole journey in itself, being able to come to terms with that. Because I grew up as a people pleaser, wanted to make everybody happy, Now it's about making myself happy with how I live my life, how I interact with people, the things I do. If I need to make a course correction, I'm willing to do it and I don't feel like I've failed. It's just a course correction, I wish I would have had some of this insight when I was younger.
Right.
But then I wouldn't be on the path I am today.
Right. So not only are you changing yourself, you're changing around you. And it goes back to a question that I asked earlier about the 5 people you're influencing. They're spending the most time with you. What you're providing is being happy in yourself so that happiness radiates to the others around you.
Yeah, I try and when I meet people too, if I can lift their soul, find that really deep thing, and they walk away and they're thinking, more than just something so simple, but something really deep to your core. To me, that's kind of part of the human experience.
You're leading into my next question. What will be better in the world because Patti was here?
I think it probably goes back to that Maya Angelou quote, I want people to remember how I made them feel. Like I said earlier, there's people I come in contact with and I hear their stories and their struggles. And people see me right now. They don't know the life I've had before, even coming to Nebraska, right? And so I think when I can resonate and kind of get them to see that maybe it's not so bad. If I do this, maybe this could happen. Giving them ounces of hope. That's where all that positive stuff comes from. I feel like that's what I want to be remembered as. The Patti is always trying to help people find the best version of themselves, because I like to give, I like to bring joy, and that's my love language. You know, it really has become part of my being, you know, so in everything I do.
Tell us a time you experienced joy while going through your cancer treatments.
Um, the doctor, incredible doctor. So I was diagnosed with melanoma. It was pretty advanced, and I was told I might lose my leg. We didn't know until we got in there, because I had the first surgery. They didn't get it all, had to go back in. One of the doctors here in Kearney, he's a pilot, and he said, if you'd like, I'll fly you to Texas. Or if your husband can give him privileges at the hospital, I'll fly him up here and he can do your surgery. And I was blown away by that. Like, who does that? Who offers up that kind of thing to little old me, right? And so I talked to my surgeon locally, and she said, you have the ability to choose whoever you want to choose. And so we talked about the next step in my surgery, and I was petrified because both of my parents had melanoma. And she gave me the confidence in just a brief conversation, a simple touch on my shoulder. And I said, doctor, I'm entrusting you with my life. And she said, you're going to be just fine either way. And that moment was like, it blew up so incredibly well, because everything turned out okay. We got everything we needed to get out. I didn't lose my leg. I'm grateful for that. It looks a little funny, but I've got a leg. And I think about what she did for me was like the kind of thing like I want to do for other people. It's not surgical related, but she gave me that it's going to be okay. We're going to do this. If we have to do something different and life is going to be looking different for you, it's okay. But I wasn't feeling that in that moment until I had that conversation with her. And when I see her walking the halls of the hospital today, she's my angel here on earth. You know, she just gave me the confidence to trust, no matter where you live, what kind of doctors you have, there's good people everywhere. They're going to care for you the best way they know how. And I'm grateful for her, because I can now say she's become a friend. You know, it changed everything for me, because I was petrified, and I went down a pretty ugly, dark rabbit hole when you have a family history like I have. And so now I flipped that. And you want to talk about a skincare advocate. If you thought there was one before, look out, because here I am now. If you aren't wearing sunscreen on a cloudy day, you got a problem. But, you know, it's just kind of amazing how powerful that moment was. And then to find out I didn't need to have treatment afterwards because they had gotten it all, just gave me this lease on life. That, again, here's that word. Like, did I think that was my word? I rose above it, you know? So I will rise up. Push me down, try and kick me down. It's not going to happen. I will continue to rise, and I will do the things I need to do to lift others. That's just it in a nutshell.
Patti, what's next?
What's next? I am excited about this new chapter. We're going to be moving to Montana. It's a great opportunity for my husband. Before we were ever married, he wanted to live in the mountains. And at that time, he was an occupational therapist. He wanted to go down the mountain, go to a hospital, treat patients, and then go back up into the mountains and live in the middle of 80 acres. Here we are, kind of the dream, but not the dream. We're moving to the mountains. And my husband has the opportunity he's kind of reached what he feels is the pinnacle of his career, which is incredible, because I'm going to Montana not knowing maybe 3-4 people that are acquaintances. But I'm so excited because I don't know what's next. Right? I mean, who am I going to meet? Am I going to be involved with a hospital foundation? Am I going to connect at a local level with some nonprofit? I've done that in the past. Am I going to be somebody who plans events? I don't know what it is, but I'm really looking forward to it, because It's like the next chapter, flip the page. Who is Patti in Montana? Not going to be any different, like inside who I am, but what's next? It's exciting. It's, I always say it's never too late and you're never too old, because I'm one of the older girls, but in what I do, but I love what I do. And I think I'm starting to embrace that, you know. I got at least a couple decades ahead of me that I can do some pretty fun things. Just got to find out what they are. I don't know what they are yet.
Patti, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed today. I go back to the smile. Like, I don't think I've lost my smile. My eyes are probably even squinty because I've been smiling so much with you. You are a joy. You are a joy, and it is fun to watch you rise.
Thank you. I appreciate that for you asking me to do something like this. I stepped out of that comfort zone and I found some courage. And, you know, our meeting wasn't by chance. I think it was meant to be. So thank you.
Thank you for listening and being inspired to exercise your own courage muscle. Please leave us a rating on whatever platform you are listening. For even more, you can go to www.authormyday.com. Remember, you only have this one life, this one day, so always author your day. Thanks for listening to Pass It On, connecting soul to soul.